Shalom. All praise, honor, and glory to YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, RAWCHAA, QADASH. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well. And peace and mercy to the hopeful elect, the 144,000 men that are doing this work in sincerity and in truth. And much love to the 1/3 and the innumerable multitude of you believers out there. To you all, I say shalom. I'm the brother Yeshaya from the Great Millstone West Palm Beach Church. And I truly do pray, Lord willing, that this lesson is edifying through the Spirit. All right, through the Spirit, I don't think I'm going to make this too long here. I know it's going to be probably a much shorter lesson than I normally make. But, you know, the Spirit does what it does. I do have quite a bit of precepts, so we'll see. But, you know, just meditating on something, you know, there's been a lot been going on through the Spirit. And I wanted to do this lesson about making decisions, or more so making tough decisions. Because as men, right, and I mean, this can go for anybody, men and women, ultimately, but as men and much more hopeful men of the Lord, and forgive me, I'm getting a little stuffy, but decisions are not always easy. We have to make decisions based on, you know, sometimes we have time to make decisions. You know, you got, sometimes we have to make quick decisions upon an instance, upon a moment. All right. And those sometimes can be more difficult, right? Because at the end of the day, you got to make a decision and you just got to be led by the Spirit. But then we have other decisions where we have time to think about it, right? Things that are in your life, people that you're dealing with, you know, maybe relationships, women that you've been, you know, and sometimes you have a little bit more time to think about decisions. But even if it's days, weeks, months, or years, decisions can still be complicated and complex. And they can bring a world of emotions, if I want to be honest, you know. And honestly, sometimes you always pray that you're making the right decision through the Spirit, you know. And now at the end of the day, as a result of that, we always have to live with our decisions, right? But that's why it's so important to have YAHAWASHI on your side, you know. Life doesn't make decisions easy for us. But as men, that's something we have to do. If we're leading a church, if you're leading a family, if you're leading a job, ultimately we're leading a nation. Y'all, we got to remember that. You brothers out there that are in Great Millstone and you like-minded men, right? We're leading a nation of people. Our conduct has to be befitting of that of kings, right? It's been far too long that we move like we're just walking this earth, Akim. The Lord has, he says, shall ye not, matter of fact, I wasn't even, maybe this lesson gonna be long. This is 1 Corinthians 6 and verse 2. It says, do ye not know that the saints shall judge the world? And if the world shall be judged by you, are ye unworthy to judge the smallest matters? Know ye not that ye shall judge angels? How much more things that pertain to this life? You see? So YAHAWASHI says, we're going to, you know, Lord willing, we be those men. We're going to judge the world. And as a judge, sometimes, all the time, honestly, you have to make constant decisions. Okay? Even from the smallest things to the greatest. You know, and I'm going to get another verse in a moment, but this reminds me of, y'all know, I always talk about the period pieces that I like, you know, medieval times and things like that. The time of royalty and thrones. I always enjoyed things like that, you know. And they always have scenes like this in these type of movies. When you watch The Tudors or when you watch The King with Timothy Chalamet, you know, they always have a scene where it's a line of people before the king. And they may just be, it might be a simple farmer just talking about how his crops hasn't been growing because someone else doing something nearby. And the king has to sit there and he has to listen to all of these complaints from the people. And they might seem small to the king, but ultimately they're important to the town people, the citizens. So he has to be able to judge even those small matters and to make decisions upon what to do. You know, so YAHAWASHI said we got to be able to judge even the smallest of matters. So making decisions and doing what we think is right through the spirit, you know. And that's why we got to be led by the spirit of YAHAWASHI, because the world, right, they make decisions based on their own flesh, right? But we take time, we try to use spiritual discernment, right? We try to use these things to be able to show the glory of Yahweh, to make sure we're doing right by the flock, doing right by his ministry. Okay. There's so many things to take into consideration, but decision making is what separates the men from the boys, y'all. You know, and we all are men. So in this life, we got to be able to make these constant decisions. Okay. I want to, this is another good story here. Yeah, this might be a little. But let me get this verse here. Let me get this definition. The definition of decision in the Oxford. It says a conclusion or resolution reached after consideration. It says the action or process of deciding something or resolving a question. It also says a formal judgment. Okay, and I know when you read the scriptures, even we talk about YAHAWASHI, right, which is Jehoshaphat. Which when you go into that, it says the Lord's judgment, but it also says the Lord's decision, right? So a decision is also a formal judgment. So when you have a judge and they say, you know, this man is going to get 20 years in prison, they made a decision. They made a judgment. Okay. And we always pray that we're making the right judgment. See, the thing is, men and the judges in court, you know, a lot, they might think like they're using their discernment, but they're not using the words of YAHAWASHI to determine the outcome of this man. They're using their own flesh. They might be using laws. Now, a lot of these dudes do deserve to be locked up, but at the end of the day, we know a lot of wicked things are being done to put our people behind bars as well, right? But I want to get some definitions about, you know, certain things, and then I want to get some stories about like tough decision making. Okay. But first, let me get this. This is Proverbs 16:33. It says, the lot is cast into the lap, but the whole disposing thereof is of the Lord. So I want to read that in the NLT. It says, and actually, I'm going to start at 32. I'm going to read that in the KJV first. He that is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he that ruleth his spirit than he that taketh the city. So you gotta have a certain level of patience. You gotta be able to suffer certain things, and you gotta be able to rule your spirit, you know. But sometimes when it's time to make decisions, you know, you might have been ruling your spirit. You might have kept things underway, right? But the time gonna come when eventually the judgment has to come, right? But I'm going to read this in the NLT, Proverbs 16:32 through 33. Better to be patient than powerful. Better to have self-control than to conquer a city. You see, so being patient and having self-control is incredibly important, especially in these times where we're about to see a world that's out of control, brothers. So having that patience, being able to rule your spirit is vital. All right. You can't be just lashing out and acting like you don't have a control over your mind and your spirit, right? That's a true character trait of a man, all right? Verse 33, it says, we may throw the dice, but the Lord determines how they fall. You see, and look, when you throw the dice, right, it's a gamble, which really through the spirit, it's a gamble when you're making a certain decision, but it's loaded dice, brothers. Y'all got to understand that. That's why it's important to cast the lots, right? The dice is already loaded, and they think the thing is when you play with loaded dice. So for my brothers who used to go to casinos or gamble, or when I was in the world, we used to shoot craps, 7-Eleven, and it technically ain't nothing wrong with doing that. It's just men know how to make everything super wicked, go broke, lose all their substance, but nonetheless, you would throw those dice, and if you had loaded dice, if you had trick dice, people would want to harm you. They would want to put you to death, things like that. But through the spirit, our dice are loaded in righteousness from YAHAWASHI, because we going to throw the dice, but the Lord determines how they going to fall, right? The lot is cast into the lap, but the whole dispersing thereof is the Lord. So we cast lots. We may cast lots. We may think about how we want it to go. You may think something in your mind, right? But at the end of the day, it's up to the Lord. He's the one who calls the shots. Everything is of the spirit. And I remember watching, I used to watch Peaky Blinders. And on Peaky Blinders, the main character, right, Shelby, he said, Thomas Shelby, he said, whenever I have to make a very difficult decision, I flip a coin. And so basically he was in righteousness. He said, I cast a lot because he can't make it on his own. So you had to leave it up to the Lord. He didn't say that, but through the spirit, I received that through the spirit, right? I want to get the word for lot. Okay, the word for lot is garawal or gawarala, but I think it's garawal. And it says a lot, pebbles, as a stone, pebble used systematically for making decisions. And, we had the and the Thummim, all right? Those were used for making decisions through the spirit that the priests used to use, right? It says lot, portion, thing assigned by casting lots, recompense, retribution. It says meaning to be rough as stone, properly a pebble, small stones being used for that purpose, a portion or destiny, as if determined by a lot. You see, so this is the will of, it says a shortened garal. So that's the way you can say garal, right, for casting a lot, And so that's the will of the Lord, how the dice fall, how lots end up becoming, man. All right. So, but that's making decisions. Sometimes the Lord takes that weight off of us by doing things like that, flipping lots. And at the end of the day, I'm not saying make all your decisions like that, because some things need to be done by divine intervention. Some things need to be done by prayer. Even if you cast a lot, I'm not saying go out here and be rebellious and do it anyway. But sometimes more heavier level things, they take more than flipping the coin, But, YAHAWASHI has to guide us and show us the way to make these decisions. This is Proverbs 18:18. It says, the lot causes contentions to cease and parteth between the mighty. And the NLT is literally says, flipping a coin can end arguments. It settles disputes between powerful opponents. That's like, rock, paper, scissors, or casting a lot. Like, hey, man, bro, you got this star, I'll make this star. We're going to flip a coin. Wherever it lands, that's what we're going to do. You see? So it'll end arguments. You can't go against what's been flipped. You see what I'm saying? So as men, it ain't easy always to make decisions out here. But we as men, you got to do certain things. Now, it's wise to always take counsel, listen to other brothers, right? It says before everything, take counsel. So you listen to other brothers and consider what their thoughts are and how to move. You pray to YAHAWASHI first and foremost. Ask him to give you guidance. Okay, these things are very, very important. Let me see here. God, I got that story. Now let me get this. I'm going to read this. This is Proverbs 3:5. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not on thine own understanding. You see that? So you got to trust in the Lord. Because the things will try to make reason of certain things and rationalize it and, make it our own. But we got to trust in YAHAWASHI and why certain things take place and not lean on our own understanding. Now, and we are men in the flesh, and sometimes we do certain things. But if we are believe that we're led by the Spirit, we have to walk in the Spirit. And just pray YAHAWASHI shall always have mercy on us and show us the right way to give us clearance, And that's why it's so important to be humble, to learn, to grow, to be the best man you can, and to serve him with all your might, your energy, your strength, your love, your power, your soul, right? And being brotherly, man, is vital, man. It's so important to be a brother, y'all. Right? It's so important to be a brother. The Lord said, this is how you shall know that you are my disciples, by the love that we have for one another, man. After YAHAWASHI in the scriptures, your brothers, man, and they're really included in that, right? But your brothers, you got to show love to the brother. The scriptures say, honor the brotherhood, love the brotherhood, man. If you don't show that love for the brotherhood, then what, man? I always use the example when it comes to love, and this is just a woman, but I used to like the woman examples are powerful in righteousness. If you tell your woman, hey, even vice versa, if your woman say, I love you, I love you, I love you, but she never shows that she loves you, you're going to be like, she doesn't love me. She's just saying it. That's just like these people in the world. They say, God bless, or I love God, but they don't show it, right? Be a doer of the word, man. So when it comes to this brotherhood, you got to show people that you love them, and I get it. We're going to have certain relationships with certain people, but this bond that we've been given through YAHAWASHI, it's the most precious thing on this earth, man. So you gotta have that camaraderie, and the scripture's going to say, the day is going to come when you're going to desire to hear a man's voice, man. You're going to desire to talk to a brother, But it says, in all thy ways, acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths, right? So everything we do, man. So, brothers, when you got to make decisions, you acknowledge him, right? He going to direct you. King David said, Lord, order my steps. We pray to him, ask him to help us with decision making, ask him to help us with discernment. He going to direct it for you, brother. You ain't gotta sit up and it says the thought that is more heavy upon thee, cast it upon him. And the Lord says, and when you are weak, I am strong. My strength is sufficient for thee, man. So decisions aren't always easy, but at the end of the day, they are of YAHAWASHI. Right? And we just got to be patient and hope that he's going to show us the way. And he is going to show us the way. When Baby Boy, and I used to feel this sentiment in that prayer that he did in Baby Boy, but now I don't feel that same way. But at the moment, it was powerful. He said, Lord, and I'm paraphrasing it, but he said, Lord, help us find our way. And if we can't, forgive us for being lost. And that used to resonate so powerful with me. They went out and did some nigga shit after that, but that resonated with me because, but now it's like when you trust in the Lord, you know that he's always guiding your way. You're not lost anymore. He's the one making the decisions. He's the one showing you the way. He's the one guiding the path, right? So you're not lost, but you got to trust that even when you feel lost, that he's trying to show you something greater, man. Even when you feel lost, even when you feel like you made a certain decision, even when you feel like you're walking through the desert and you're like, Lord, I'm thirsty. Keep walking, brother. He put you in that desert for a reason. Keep walking. Eventually, by believing and having faith, you're going to stumble upon some water, brother. You're going to stumble upon some shade. You just got to keep walking. It says, be not wise in thine own eyes, fear the Lord and depart from evil. It shall be health to thy navel and marrow to thy bones, man. So he's going to sustain you even when things are difficult. All right. Let me go back here. So I wanted to get Judges 11 because this is even though it was a vow, he had to make it was decision making, right? This is Judges 11 and 30, and I really love the story of Jephthah. I really do. Brothers know I be mentioning it all the time, you know, based on his trial, the way people treated him, and then how they expected him to be afterwards, and you know the Lord was helping him. I love the story of Jephthah. But it says Judges 11 and 30, and Jephthah vowed a vow unto the Lord YAHAWASHI and said, if thou shalt without fail deliver the children of Ammon into mine hands, then it shall be that whatsoever cometh forth of the doors of my house to meet me when I return in peace from the children of Ammon shall surely be the Lord's, and I will offer it up for a burnt offering. Now, do I believe that he should have made this vow? I mean, he could have made another vow, but he's basically saying, Lord, I'll make a sacrifice for you if you go and you I'll whatever greets me in my house when I return, I'll give it to you. I'll sacrifice it if you help me win this war. And that's what they get there in them Trojan movies. They sacrifice the girl, the daughter, so they can win the war. That's why they be so. They want to kill after that. They like, we got to win because I killed my daughter for this. That's what they get that from this story through the spirit, you know. But it could have been, you know, his dog could have ran up to him. You know, he could have had an animal. He could have had a goat. You know, that's probably what he was thinking, honestly. You know, usually when you come back to your house, people aren't the first ones to greet you. Let's be honest. Besides, I think nowadays, I get it. You might ring a doorbell or, you know, your key unlocks. But usually the first things to greet you are animals. All right. And I'm just realizing that now through the spirit. When you go into a house, usually the dog come running up. You know, the cat might be there chilling, you know, in olden times, you would probably have goats or different animals running up because they can hear your return quicker than the rest of the family can. So through the spirit, I believe he thought that an animal would have came, you know, something like that. But at the end of the day, he had to make a tough decision, right? But he made a vow. So ultimately, when you make a vow, it says defer not to pay it. So you made a decision before you could even actually make one. It says, so Jephthah passed over unto the children of Ammon to fight against them, and the Lord delivered them into his hands. Right? So he won this war, and he smote them from a war, even till thou come to Minnith, even 20 cities unto the plain of the vineyards with a very great slaughter. Thus the children of Ammon were subdued before the children of Israel. So the Israelite beat the so-called Japanese, man. That's how you know we went to war with them too. It says, and Jephthah came to Mizpah unto his house, and behold, his daughter came out to meet him with timbrels and with dances, and she was his only child. Beside her, he had neither son nor daughter. You see? So his daughter was excited to see him when he returned back home from the war. You think he was expecting that? He wasn't. He didn't see that coming. And it came to pass when he saw her that he rent his clothes and said, alas, my daughter, thou hast brought me very low, and thou art one of them that trouble me. For I have opened my mouth unto the Lord, and I cannot go back. You see? So he's like, he rents his clothes. He's like, oh my God, my only child came to meet me at the door. And I made a vow unto the Lord. Now I got to make this decision to do what I said I was going to do. Because the Lord can take him and his whole family out if he don't stick to his vow, man. It says, and she said unto my father, if thou hast opened thy mouth unto the Lord, do to me according to that which hath proceeded out of thy mouth. For as much as the Lord hath taken vengeance for thee of thine enemies, even of the children of Ammon. You know, so ultimately she ended up dying. She ended up being sacrificed, and she died as a sacrifice to the Lord, right? And she died a virgin, right? And it says here in verse 40, it says that the daughters of Israel went yearly to lament the daughter of Jephthah, the Gileadite, 4 days in a year. So really, that's something that the daughters are supposed to be doing now. 4 days a year, they're supposed to lament for Jephthah's daughter. You know, that's a custom there too. But he had to make a decision, a tough decision. You think he wanted to sacrifice his daughter? No, absolutely not. Right? But sometimes we may have to make tough decisions through the spirit and will of YAHAWASHI, through the power of YAHAWASHI. You know, that's just this life. That's a part of our territory, brothers, that comes with the territory. That's a part of our lots. That's a part of our journey as men and as hopeful saints of the Lord to be able to judge the world. We have to make decisions, even when it's not agreeable by the masses, right? But we hope and pray that it's for the best, okay? I do want to get this. Maybe I might come back to this one. Let me see here. You know, I'm just going to read it. This is Luke 19:12. It says, he said, therefore, a certain nobleman went into a far country to receive for himself a kingdom and to return, which is YAHAWASHI. And he called his 10 servants and delivered them 10 pounds and said unto them, occupy till I come. He gave them a duty, but his citizens hated him and sent a message after him saying, we will not have this man to reign over us. And this is why people are going to perish ultimately for not serving YAHAWASHI. Bring them hither before me and slay them. Thus saying verse 27. Right, but it says, and it came to pass that when he was returned, having received the kingdom, then he commanded these servants to be called unto him. So after YAHAWASHI's return, he's going to say, hey, man, I'm back. Did you do what I commanded you to do? I told you to occupy and stay busy and look over my duties and my responsibilities until I return. It says, then to whom he had given the money, that he might know how much every man had gained by trading. So he gave them all money. He said, occupy, make something of this money. When I give you this, multiply it. Okay, which is spiritually talking about the works that you're doing with him. The Lord has given us a duty, Akim. He's given us an opportunity to serve him and to double his money. You know, that's not literal, that's figurative, right? He gave you a portion. You're supposed to multiply that portion. If you're not growing, if you're not challenging yourself to be better, to be greater, to serve the Lord further, to be a better vessel, then he's going to be very upset, man. Right? It says, then came the first saying, Lord, thy pound hath gained 10 pounds. So he's like, Lord, I doubled it up for you. You showed me that. Let me give an example. You showed me how to deal with herbs. Now I've also learned how to prophesy, right? You showed me how, you gave me 10 scriptures. Now I'd have multiplied it and made it 20, right? You showed me how to educate men, but now I'd have learned how to teach classes. You know, you've leveled me up. So I've returned that to you, Lord. All right. So that's a decision too. You got to make the decision that you want to work for the Lord and gain more, man. And he said unto him, well, thou good servant, because thou hast been faithful in a very little, have thou authority over 10 cities. So I know you can handle a little, so I can give you more. I can give you now I'm ruling. YAHAWASHI is like, I'm ruling this great kingdom now. I know if I give you this responsibility, you can handle ruling over 10 cities because you know how to do what I ordained you to do. But how can the Lord give you more if you don't do with whatever he gave you in the first place and you do nothing with it? He can't promise you with greater things, man. It says, and the second came saying, Lord, thy pound hath gained 5 pounds. And he said likewise to him, be thou also over 5 cities. Right? So you did a little less, but you still did. You doubled up what I gave you. And another came saying, Lord, behold, there is thy pound, which I have kept laid up in a napkin. So that servant didn't listen, right? He didn't occupy till the Lord came. He just kept it for him. So that's like you finding the word of YAHAWASHI. You like, you know what? I'm going to stay right here. I'm not going to grow. I'm not going to read. I'm not going to learn no precepts. I know I'm not going to become better. I'm not going to give more hearty lessons. I'm going to stay right here thinking that that's satisfactory. So that's disobeying. It says you got to obey. To obey is better than sacrifice. It says, for I fear thee, because thou art an austere man. Thou takest up that thou layest not down, and reapest that thou didst not sow. So a man like this would be like, well, Lord, I kept it for you because I thought maybe I would lose it. But the thing is, the irony is, if you don't do what he told you to do, you're definitely going to lose everything now, right? That you kept it up in a napkin, but that's not sufficient. You didn't make nothing of this beautiful glory that he gave you, this beautiful field, this beautiful pearl, right? You didn't go out and teach people and bring them in and help them understanding the word of the Lord. It says, and he said unto him, out of thine own mouth will I judge thee. And judge goes into decision. Thou wicked servant, thou knowest that I was an austere man, taking up that I laid not down, and reaping that I did not sow. Excuse me. Right? And it says, jumping down to verse 24, it says, and he said unto them that stood by, take from him the pound, and give it to him that had 10 pounds. And they said unto him, Lord, he had 10 pounds. For I say unto you that every one which shall be given, and from him that had not, even he that he has shall be taken away from him. Right? So when you in this work, when you in this ministry, you got to multiply, man. Right? Not divide, not subtract. You got to multiply and add, man. Right? You got to become better. That growth, the Lord requires growth out of all of us, Akim. Man, look at Apostle Tahar, man. Look at the apostles, right? Look at Elder Apostle Tahar. Look at Elder Apostle Gabar. Look at Elder Apostle RAWCHAA. Look at Elder Apostle Ramla, man. They are still growing, magnifying, and doing better and multiplying unto this very day, y'all. And they've been out there longer than all of us. So if they're still growing, everybody under them has no excuse, man. Okay? So we always got to self-reflect on that. And you got to make a decision within yourself. I want to be better. I want to do better by you, YAHAWASHI. So when he does return from preparing a kingdom, we can gain 10 pounds. We can gain 5 pounds. We can gain another pound and not have something taken away from us, man. Okay? This is Proverbs 16:10. A divine sentence is in the lips of the king. His mouth transgresseth not in his judgment. You see, so ultimately YAHAWASHI is the king, man. Right? But sometimes we're going to hear things from our elders and our brothers that are above us and the apostles that we just got to do. It says in his mouth transgresseth not in judgment. So he not going off for making the decision that he made, man. You know, it's things that I've heard from older brothers, you know, things that elder brother lawyer then told me that I got to do. And I just got to fucking do it. You know, Bishop Itazawam, you know, tell me something that I got to do. I just got to fucking do it. I got to listen. I got to listen to the sentencing. I got to listen to the judgment. And I just got to take it, man. And that don't mean that they always were okay with every decision that they made. But at the end of the day, they had to make a divine sentence. Right? And at the end of the day, they don't transgress doing it because everything is ultimately through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Shai. And those decisions come from the top to the bottom, man. Okay? Let me see here. I guess I can let that one go. I don't gotta do that one. Let me read at least this first verse. Ecclesiasticus 39:1. It says, but he that giveth his mind to the law of the Most High and is occupied in the meditation thereof will seek out the wisdom of all the ancient and be occupied in prophecies, man. You got to be occupied in these prophecies, occupied in his word, obeying Yahweh Shem Shai, right? Looking for righteousness, doing right by the body so that we can obtain mercy and salvation, man. You know, and I got one more verse in another story, and then I'll wrap it up. Ecclesiasticus 2 in verse 1, it says, my son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation. Set thy heart aright and constantly endure, and make not haste in time of trouble, man. So you got to get your mind right, right? And you got to constantly endure, even when things are against you, man. Even when things don't seem like they're going in your favor. Just keep fighting, man. Don't give up, man. Right? It says, cleave unto him and depart not away. Right? So even when things aren't going the way you saw fit, you know, if you really believe you're part of the elect and you're doing right, and sometimes in life we got to suffer wrongfully, but you don't depart away from them, you know, that just might be a part of your trial. It says, through much tribulation shall we enter into the kingdom of the Most High. It says that thou mayest be increased at thy last end. Look at Job. That's the perfect example. Job was persecuted, went through a lot of stuff. Everything was taken away from Job. But at the end of the day, he came back and he was blessed. He was increased at his latter end. It says, for whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully and be patient when thou art changed to a low estate, man. So when things aren't going right, man, just take it on the head and pray to the Lord and ask him to guide you. It says, for gold is tried in the fire and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. A furnace is hot, right? A furnace is hot, but you got to deal with it. Believe in him and he will help thee. Order thy way right and trust in him, right? So believe in the Lord, man. It says, ye that fear the Lord and believe him, and your reward shall not fail, man. Ye that fear the Lord hope for good and for everlasting joy and mercy, man. Okay? And I guess I don't got to read that story either. You know what? Let me read it. Let's see. I said it was going to be short video already, almost 40 minutes. But the water for y'all for bearing with me this long. You know, I didn't intend for it to be this long. I was probably intending for it to be like 15 minutes to get my point across. But YAHAWASHI said, no, son, it's going to be longer. So the water for listening this long. This is 1 Kings 3:16. It says, then came there two women that were harlots unto the king and stood before him. And the one woman said, O my Lord, I and this woman dwell in one house, and I was delivered of a child with her in the house. So they both had babies around the same time. And it came to pass the third day after that I was delivered, that this woman was delivered also. And we were together, and there was no stranger with us in the house, save we two in the house. And this woman's child died in the night because she overlaid it. And that's the spirit we were just talking about. People got animals. Like when I had my cat was a kitten, I used to make sure I sleep far enough to he was sleeping in bed to not roll over on him. And I was telling the brother about their daughter, about their cat, about keeping a certain space so you don't overlay it, so you don't smush him in the middle of the night. So one of the women, she basically, the baby suffocated because she fell asleep on it and rolled over on the baby. It says, and she arose at midnight and took my son from beside me while thine handmaid slept, and laid it in her bosom, and laid her dead child in my bosom. So basically in the middle of the night, she came up, she switched their babies, right? It says, and when I rose in the morning to give my child suck, behold, it was dead. But when I considered in the morning, behold, it was not my son which I did bear. So she's looking at him. She's like, this ain't my baby. She like trying to birth him. She's like, this, even though he's newborn, she had been looking at him, checking him out, seeing his features. She's like, this ain't my baby. And she probably also considered like, I didn't even move last night, And the other woman said, nay, but the living is my son, and the dead is thy son. And this said, no, but the dead is thy son, and the living is my son. Thus they spake before the king. Right? See, so this is what I mean. They came before the king to bring this matter up. About the dead babies. He got to judge this matter and make a decision. Then said the king, the one said, this is my son that liveth, and thy son is dead. And the other said, nay, but the son is dead, and my son is living. How is a king supposed to make a decision when they both are sounding like they're both telling the truth and they're both lying? Right? And the king said, bring me a sword. This is powerful. The king said, bring me a sword. And they brought a sword before the king. And the king said, divide the living child in two and give half to the one and half to the other. This is the split the baby story, right? You divide the living child in two. So it's not, hey, so both of y'all can have a piece of the baby then. right? It says then, but obviously the baby will be dead. You know, when if you take a sword, it's like the baby will be dead. Then spake the woman whose the living child was unto the king, for her bowels yearned upon her son. Right? She was sick to her stomach about the fact that the king was about to cut this baby in half, knowing that that's her baby. And she said, "O my Lord, give her the living child, and in no wise slay it." But the other said, "Let it be neither mine nor thine, but divided." So the wicked woman who put it with the dead baby, she's like, "Hey, I don't care, kill the baby. So we, cut it in half. So we both want to have a child." But obviously the one that said, "Don't kill it," that's the real mother. You see? So you got two kind of decisions being made here. You got the decision of the king to divide the baby in half. And then you have the decision of the woman to, even though the child would end up being with the other woman, she's like, "I'd rather the son be raised under another woman and believe that's his mother rather than to kill my own son." You see? So she was going to give it away. So it was a lot of decision making being done, even if they weren't harsh situations. And by the way, King Solomon was never going to kill the baby, right? He just had to pluck their minds, right? But it just shows you the gravity of the situation and the mindset of the people, right? It says, then the king answered and said, "Give her the living child, and in no wise slay it. She is the mother thereof." So sometimes you got to use discernment to judge situations, man. Even when it ain't in your favor, even when you being lied to, even when you trying to see clearly, right? You trying to see clearly, you got to use discernment. You got to use wisdom, right? It says, "And all Israel heard of the judgment which the king had judged, and they feared the king, for they saw that the wisdom of the Most High was in him to do judgment." You see, so sometimes the Lord got to put certain things in your spirit to see. As a king, as a ruler, as a man, you got to have the discernment to be able to see things that other people don't see, right? And pray that YAHAWASHI is guiding you and showing you the way to be able to have that wisdom, to be able to have that judgment. And obviously King Solomon, right, which if you can receive it as YAHAWASHI, right, he had all the wisdom in the world to be able to see all of these things. But that wisdom is passed down from YAHAWASHI to us. We got that spirit of wisdom, right? We got the spirit of wisdom. The Lord didn't void us of the spirit of wisdom and discernment. Actually, he gives us that spirit. We know that in Hebrews 4:12, through this word, we're able to execute and find out certain things using this word, the intentions of the heart, right? Let me see here. I wanted to get one more verse, y'all. First Corinthians 2:4 is a good one. It says, "And my speech and my preaching was not with enticing words of a man's wisdom, but in demonstration of the Spirit and of power." Right? Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Ephesians 1:7. "That the power of our Lord Yahawashi Mashiach, the Father of glory, may give unto you the spirit of wisdom and the revelation in the knowledge of him. The eyes of your understanding being enlightened, that ye may know what is the hope of his calling, and what the riches of the glory of his inheritance and in the saints, and what is the exceeding greatness of his power to usward who believe, according to the working of his mighty power." Right? So the Lord is the one who's given us all of this wisdom to be able to make certain decisions. But we pray that we always making the right ones, and for Yahweh Shema to guide us and lead us in righteousness, even when it's difficult. And some things and decisions, it might come back to where that decision was done for a certain reason, to come back to be able to be profitable later, man. Hey, and I always think about Joseph. Was it the best decision for them to want to enslave their brother? Right? Through the Spirit, could they understand why they were doing what they were doing, except out of anger and jealousy? No. But at the end of the day, the Lord had a greater reason for doing so. Okay, the Lord had a greater reason for doing so. And that's something that we got to understand, to the point where it was a famine in Egypt. So that was necessary for Joseph to be sold away, to be put in that position so that they can be saved. You know, so everything is through the spirit and power of YAHAWASHI. You know, but I'm going to wrap it up with that. I truly do hope and pray this Lord was edifying. And I hope we always make the best decisions through the spirit and the Lord to guide us, even if it's a greater reason that we can understand. So with that, I want to give all the praise, honor, and glory to Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, RAWCHAA, QADASH, double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and peace and mercy to the elect. Until next time, Shalom.